What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our Week 18 preview and picks. Ethan isn't joining me this week. He's currently on vacation, enjoying some time off after the holidays, but he'll be back next week for the playoff preview and picks. But we got to talk about last week. Both of us going 11 and 5. I stumbled at the end there with Cleveland, Green Bay, and San Francisco all losing. Obviously, Ethan was on the other end of those games, and that's how we ended at 11 and 5. Now, biggest takeaways, obviously Bengals, Broncos. Bengals walk away with the win to keep their playoff chances alive. Obviously, Denver just has to win this week to get in. If they lose, then Cincy wins, they're in. Miami needs both those teams to lose and a win for them to get in. And obviously, there's some seeding situations as well as we enter this week. In our locks of the week from last week, obviously, I had a really good week going 5 and 0 until the Packers game. And, the money line, they didn't show up until the last 6 minutes of the game, so that cost me there. And then Ethan, another 3 and 3 week as he's just fighting to stay over 500 at this point in this season. Then our locks this week. It's week 18, so you're going to see some crazy situations in the betting world. Cleveland's getting 20 points at Baltimore. I get that Baltimore, they have everything to play for here, playing for the AFC North, but 20 points is a lot of points in the NFL, so I like that. Cincy minus 1.5 at Pitt. Obviously, that means I'm taking Cincinnati to win there. Carolina on the road at Atlanta. Atlanta's been hit or miss with Penix. Carolina's been playing really good football lately, besides last week. And I like the 8. Tennessee minus 1.5 versus Houston. I think, if there's a game they're going to win, it's probably going to be this one with the Texans sitting everybody. Then the Chiefs getting 10.5 at Denver. You can never bet against the Chiefs, no matter who's playing, what's happening. Then I like the over of 55.5 in the Minnesota Detroit game. Ethan's kind of the same way with a few things. He likes Dallas points versus the Commanders, Minnesota plus 2.5 at Detroit. He likes the overs in the Cincy Pitt and the Buffalo New England games. Then Mike Evans and Justin Jefferson to score a touchdown. And on Saturday, you get the Ravens Browns. Obviously, like I said, we're both going to go with the Ravens there. No brainer for the straight up pick. Packers, same thing. They are playing for seeding. They can get the 6th seed with a Commanders loss, or they will be the 7th seed no matter what happens. Falcons, Panthers, I'm taking the points, but I'm still going to pick the Falcons here to get to 9 and 8, finish kind of where I projected them to finish this year. Could they win the NFC South? Yes. They need the Bucks to lose for them to win the South and get into the playoffs. Who knows if that's going to happen? Obviously, Penix is going to have his best career game to make that happen. And then the Commanders, Cowboys. I think this is one of those better 1 o'clock games. It's kind of a coin flip. Dallas is out of the playoffs, but they're still playing for a lot in pride in this point and possibly can, mess with the Commanders season a little bit on who they're going to play in the playoffs. So I like the Commanders here. I still think they're going to go into Jerry's World, get that victory, but Ethan's going with the Cowboys at home. I get where he's coming from at home, messing with some teams, possibly in the playoffs, before the playoffs, give them a loss, derail some confidence. So I can see why he's picking the Cowboys. And then on this slide, we're all going the same picks: Jags, Bills, Eagles, Bucks. I'm surprised we're both going with the Jags here. The Colts are a better team, but it just feels like one of those games for me personally that the Jags somehow, some way are going to find a way to win because they've owned Indianapolis the last 4 or 5 years. So I like the Jaguars there. Bills, even though they are sitting pretty much their whole starters, I still like them over the Patriots. But I wouldn't be shocked though if the Patriots win this game because Drake May could have one of his better games with a depleted secondary, I guess, for the Bills since they're not playing. Eagles, same thing. They're sitting all their guys. Obviously, Hurts is out regardless, so I think that was kind of when they just decided we're just going to sit everybody. Still like them though. Giants are just awful. Then the Bucks, obviously, if they win this game, they are in, win the NFC South, and either get the 3 or the 4 seed depending on the Rams game. And it's gonna have to come against the Saints, who have been their nail in their side the last few years before the Falcons started to get good. And then I just think the Bucks are gonna feed Mike Evans and McMillan. Those two guys have been really good, and then Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Sean Tucker. Those 3 guys have been interchangeable at all parts this season. So I like the Bucks' chances here just because of depth. Then the other Sunday games, this is where we are all different. I'm going with the Titans at home. Ethan's going with the Texans. I think that's a coin flip game. Niners, Cardinals, same thing, coin flip game. Disappointment game. I think that's probably the disappointment game, the Niners and Cardinals. Both those teams should be playing for a playoff berth, if we're going to really be honest, with a few results not going their way. And then you got the Chargers, Raiders. Ethan's going with the Raiders here to just worsen their draft pick. I get it because the Chargers are benching a lot of their guys too, but I still like the Chargers. I think Jim Harbaugh, doesn't matter who's out there, he's going to find a good team aspect and a cult, and obviously he's a good culture setter. So I think everyone's going to be bought in and really strive to win that game. Then you have the Dolphins and Jets, and I'm going with the Jets. I think the Dolphins have shown me time and time again, whether they make the playoffs or not, they just don't show up. And this is one of those games that is a playoff game technically for them. Win and need some help to get in. And I just think they're going to lose this one on the road. The Jets have nothing to play for. Could be Rodgers' last game in New York with Devontae. So give me the Jets here, and I think they have a big day. Then moving to the biggest games of the week, Bengals, Steelers. Obviously, I'm going with the Bengals here. Ethan's going with the Steelers, being a Steelers fan. This game, I think, is going to decide how this whole week is going to go. If this game is a back and forth, high scoring game, Bengals win, I'd be nervous if I were the Broncos. Even though you're not playing their starters, I'd still be a little nervous. But if they win, if the Steelers win, that is, then I think the Broncos can not take their foot off the gas, but breathe or sleep a little easier heading into Sunday, just because of that. The Dolphins game, who knows with them. But give the Steelers credit; they're 10-6. Still can win the North, have to win, get a Ravens loss. Probably not going to happen. The Steelers need this win more than any team that would make the playoffs just because they've been crumbling these last few weeks and need a playoff caliber win to give them that boost before the playoffs. Sunday, I'm still going with the Chiefs. I know they're not playing anybody. 10.5 on the road, Broncos. Chiefs own the Broncos. And I get it. Mahomes isn't playing in the 10.5. Broncos have everything to play for. I think Sean Payton's going to get outcoached by Andy Reid here. Even with the backups, Carson Wentz, we saw what he did last year in Week 18 for the Rams. Still put out a good game, and I think it's a better offense for him to be in. And I can see Carson Wentz really not lighting up the Broncos, but having a very respectable game here and getting the win. Also, this game is a bigger game, I guess you could say, for seeding standpoint. The Rams obviously have clinched the NFC West. Unfortunately for the Seahawks, even if they win this one, they would both be 10-7, but due to tiebreak, the Rams get in. So I'm still going to go with the Rams here at home. A lot to play for, like I said, for seeding purposes. And the Seahawks obviously can finish 10-7 and not make the playoffs, which is highly not unheard of, but highly unlikely at this point. Just the NFC North has been so good this year that they're taking up all those wild card spots. And speaking of the NFC North, obviously the biggest game of the week, and to my surprise, we're both going with the Vikings. I've been out on the Vikings through three-fourths of the year and started to give them their flowers, and I think this is where I'm all in. This Vikings team is very good. Now, obviously, the Packers have lost to them twice. I just think the Vikings, this would be the year that I would see them going to the Super Bowl. There's been other years where they thought that they would go, that they've looked a little fraudulent, but this year they have not. They've looked dominant. Same for the Lions, though. Even with their whole defense depleted, the Lions still are finding ways to win games. Whether it's scoring 40 or more, they can win games. And if the Vikings want to win this game, their defense is going to have to step up and make big plays. And I expect a 31-28 kind of game here, no matter who wins this. And that's going to be it for my Week 18 picks. Check back next week with when Ethan will be back for our playoff previews. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.